Okay, let's go for it. Iti piso bhagava araham samma sambuddho vicca charana sampano sugato lokavidu anuttaro Viradhammo sarati satta deva manusana Buddho Bhagavati Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Santitiko Akaliko Hehi Pasiko Opanaiko Pachatang Veditabo Vinyu Hiti Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujupatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyaya Patipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sami Chipatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yadidang Chatari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Pukala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anutarang Punya Ketang Lokasati Piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicca Charana Sampano Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Satta Deva Manusana Buddho Bhagavati Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Santitiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanaiko Pachatang Veditabo Vinyu Hiti Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujupatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyaya Patipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sami Chipatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yadinan Chatari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Pukala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneyo Ahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttaram Punya Ketang Lokasati Piso Bhagava Araham Samma Sambuddho Vicca Charana Sampano Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Satta Deva Manusana Buddho Bhagavati Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Santitiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanaiko Pachatang Veditabo Vinyu Hiti Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho จุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาณปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามิจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆยะติตัญจตาริปุริสยุกานิยัตตะปุริสปุกกะลาเยสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาเนยโยปาเนยโยตาคิเนยโยอัญชลิกรณิโยอนุตตรังปุญญาเกตังโลกัสสาทิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชชาจารณะสัมปันโนสุขโตโลกวิทูอนุตตรวปุริสธัมมัสสารติสัทธาเทวมนุสสานังพุทโธภะคะวะติสวากาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมสันเตติโกอาคาลิโกเอหิปัสสิโกโอปนัยโกปัจจานังเวทิตาโพวิญญูหิติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาณปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามิจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆยะติตัญจตาริปุริสยุกานิยัตตะปุริสปุกกะลาเยสะภะคะวะสาวกสังโฆอาเนยโยปาเนยโยตาคิเนยโยอัญชลิกรณิโยอนุตตรังปุญญาเกตังโลกัสสาติ Okay, we'll do some meditation, yeah. So I guess we use the same pattern. Before this meeting, I was pondering what I might say this evening for me, this morning for you in Asia. And, you know, I never know what I'm going to say. And my mind always thinks, what's to say? It's all done, right? So I don't plan anything, but I just use that phrase, is thought separate from awareness? And I've been encouraging that question in different ways. And what you notice with thinking is that, so if you're doing this retreat, that means you have some experience of seeing thought as an object. Someone who's not reflective quite often just runs with the thinking and sort of believes it as a reality. So as a meditator contemplative, you've got a probably good sense that thought is an object, and it oftentimes driven by emotion and history and perceptions of various sorts. And I think the problem arises that as a meditator, you'd really rather not have that thinking. Thank you very much. I'd rather have silence. And sometimes you experience silence. So when you notice that there is some kind of thinking pattern going on, then quite often you kind of create a sense of me having this problem called thinking. And you may not say it deliberately to yourself, but almost subconsciously you say, well, I should stop thinking. So there's a me, and there's this stuff called thought. And that's actually just another thought. And the way you might approach that moment of awakening to thought as an object, because that's what's happened, is put in that question. Is awareness separate from thought? And for me, it just goes quickly to silence because there's no answer to that. And this is the use of a question to go beyond questioning. You can use, and Buddhism has a lot of that in Zen tradition. You have Koan, and then in the Advaita tradition, you have the Who Am I? In the Chinese tradition, I think they use Who Am I as well. And it's a common kind of clever use of a question, because a question wakes you up, doesn't it? Like, how many rocks are out in the lawn? And then I look, and then I count them up, and I get an answer. So usually a question, what you want is the answer. That's why you have the question. And the downside of that is in meditation, you then get caught up in thinking, usually. One question gets an answer, another question, so on. Not necessarily, but quite often the attention gets preoccupied with thought, analysis, and so on. Not to dismiss thought and analysis, but if that becomes the pattern of preoccupation, obviously the mind's not going to calm down and be composed. So when you put the question in, is awareness separate from thought? That question makes you bright. And there's no answer really, because there is just silence. You could say there's an answer and say no. That would be okay, but you could just observe. You can do that, like I say, with sound. Is sound, awareness, are they separate? There's distinct, as I've been talking, but is it separate? Is there a thing called awareness and a thing called sound? And that kind of inquiry, it's not like a philosophical position you're taking. You could do that, and you could get a degree in university and so on. But here it's simply a tool, a noticing, I think, which is profound. And then you just stay with that sense of silence. So I did that. Like my mind was producing the usual, where time, me. This guy is going to be sitting in front of the Zoom session. I have to do something to earn my rice, so I better say something, kind of feeling. And then that's doubt. What should I say? And then rather than trying to figure out what I'm going to say, which one does in the beginning when one gives these kinds of talks, the preference becomes to not know. That becomes the preference. I mean, I've worked out the nervousness and that kind of fearfulness stuff. But then that subtlety of then thinking I have to do something about the thoughts, that sense of separation is challenged by that question. Is awareness separate from thought? And then, to me, it's a very instant way of touching the silence of non-duality, I suppose, or whatever you want to call it. The silence of consciousness or awareness. And then abide as that. Abide as that. And then the thought comes up again. As opposed to trying to get rid of thought or doing some special practice so that you don't think so much, that's okay. That's all right. But right away, if you use that, you can see, oh, your thought's just an object. And where's the separation? And that for me is a very powerful way of entering into the peace of the mind. So as you're meditating, keep that in mind, the use of a question to bring the mind to silence rather than to produce an answer. So let's put the week clock on 45 minutes. There we go. And here we go. So I use the same pattern. And see if that is helpful. The suggestions that I've been offering on posture. So make sure your chin is tucked in if you're sitting. And if you're lying, then your chin is lower than your forehead. If the chin is jutting out in some kind of way that is not good for the neck and produces more thought, I'm told. And then just a sense of solidity in your posture. And again, make your posture like just 10% more comfortable. Make a kind of deliberate choice to adjust your posture. And then having done that, now make the determination to not move. So see if you can develop stillness of posture and stillness of mind. So when I say be still, does that make you tense? And that's not the idea. Stillness is not tension. So what would stillness feel like? It wouldn't have to be tension. But stillness would require composure of attention, of awareness. You'd have to compose your awareness on the body and then contemplate stillness. And right away you begin to touch the silence of knowing, silence of the mind. So this isn't something you become, is it? Through a tremendous amount of effort, you just begin to notice that silence. And again, I'll go through that bodily sensation, meditation, and same reminder, it's not a concept, and it's not an imagining, it's not an image you create. It's a tactile sensitivity to that part of the body. And you're not trying to create or find a sensation, so you're not looking for something, but a noticing what is. So that's the attitude is receptive. So let's start with that, just like receptive awareness. Just this room, sitting here now, these sounds, this temperature feels like this, receptive awareness. Bring attention to the inside of your mouth. Feel the tactile, the sensations inside the mouth. Feel the floor of the mouth. Let the sensations there become conscious. The back of the throat. Inside the left cheek. Inside the right cheek. Feel the lower jaw, the sensations manifesting. Allow them to be conscious. Lower jaw, lower lip, lower teeth and gums. Feel the upper jaw, upper lip, teeth and gums as sensation. And feel the sensations that are the tongue. And bring all those together as one. So it's a mass of sensations. And consider composure. So you're collecting or composing attention on those sensations, as opposed to trying to get something or get rid of something. Composure, collectedness on the very real tactile sensations of the mouth, which are the mouth. Attention inside the cheeks, up into the ear canals. Notice the sensations of the ear canals. Let them become conscious. Feel the outer structures of the ears. Feel both ears as tactile sensations radiating in space, in awareness. Feel the sensations that are the nose, bridge of the nose, and the nostrils, the warmth, coolness of air in and out. That whole area, the nose as sensation, in awareness, in space. Bring attention to the sensations that are the eyes, the hollows of the eyes. And then the eyeballs resting in those hollows as sensation. In awareness, in space, radiating, vibrating. Follow a line from the eyes into the center of the head. Feel any sensations there. Feel the forehead, inside the forehead, sensations in awareness, in space. Draw a line back to the center of the head. Feel brain, feel the sensations, whatever's there. Again, if there is nothing there, fine. If it's very sensitive, fine. Whatever. It's like this. Feel the top of the head, scalp, the sensations under the scalp. And a line drawn to the center of the brain. Feel the back of the head. Vibrations, sensations in awareness, in space. And a line drawn to the center of the brain. Now bring all of those together as one mass of sensations: mouth, ears, nose, eyes, top of the head, back of the head, middle of the head. All as one mass of sensations, vibrations in awareness, in space. Composed, collected on bodily sensation. Is awareness separate from bodily sensation? Feel the neck, back of the neck, the right side of the neck, to the left side of the neck, and the throat. Feel the whole neck area as one mass of sensation. Vibrating in awareness, in space. the connection of the neck to the shoulders on the left side. Feel the left shoulder. Let that become conscious as sensation. Feel the upper arm on the left side. No thought, no need to think here. The left elbow. The left forearm as sensation. The left wrist. Back of the left hand. Thumb. Index finger. Middle finger. Ring finger. And small finger. Feel the palm of the hand. Feel the whole hand as sensation, composed, collected. Not going anywhere, not trying to find anything, composed, collected on sensation. Feel the whole left arm, from the hand to the wrist, to the forearm, to the elbow, upper arm, shoulder. Feel that whole area as one mass of sensations. In awareness, in space. Feel the right side of the neck. Feel the connection to the right shoulder. Allow sensations of the right shoulder to become conscious. It just happens by itself. You're not doing it, as it were. The upper arm, right side. The right elbow. The right forearm. And the right wrist. Back of the right hand. The thumb. Index finger. Middle finger. Ring finger. And small finger. The palm of the right hand. Feel the whole right hand as sensation, in awareness and space. Mind composed and collected on sensation. Feel the right wrists, forearm, right elbow, upper arm, right shoulder. Feel that whole area is one mass of sensations. Bring them all together as one mass of sensations. Both arms. Bring them together as one mass of sensations in awareness in space. And then bring that together with the neck, back of the head, top of the head, forehead, middle of the head, eyes, nose, ears, mouth, and the whole head, the neck, and the arms as one mass of sensation. in awareness, in space. Is awareness separate from body sensation? Bring attention to the hollow of the throat. Follow a line to inside the chest. Feel the chest cavity. Inside, at the back, sensations of the chest. Allow them to become conscious. Inside on the left. Inside on the right. Front of the chest. And then the organs, the diaphragm, lungs, and heart. And now coalesce all that together, bring it together as one mass of sensations, which are the chest. In awareness, in space. Feel the abdomen. Feel the belly. Inside the abdominal area. Back of the abdomen. Left side and right side. Front. All the organs in there. Intestines, liver, kidneys, and so on. And that whole area as sensation in awareness, in space. Composed, collected. Feel the pelvic area, feel the bones of the pelvis, weight of the seat on the ground. The back of the pelvic area, the left side, right side, the organs, the reproductive organs, the urinary muscles. So the whole area, sensations, which are the pelvis, in awareness and space. And the whole torso now, from pelvis to chest, the whole torso as one mass of sensations. Mind is collected, composed, no thought. And then bring that together, the torso, both arms, neck, back of head, top of head, forehead, middle of the head, eyes, nose, ears, mouth, and tongue. All together as one mass of sensations and vibrations in awareness. Is awareness separate from bodily sensations? And yet there is distinction that awareness knows bodily sensations. In awareness, there's the knowing, and yet is awareness separate? No thought. Feel the left hip. Feel the sensations which are the left hip. Feel the left thigh. Feel the left knee, the sensations which are the left knee. Foreleg, left ankle, left foot, the weight of the left foot on the ground if you're on a chair. Bring all that together from foot to hip as one mass of sensation, coming into consciousness, in awareness, in space. The right hip, feel the right hip as sensation. The right thigh, right knee, the right foreleg, the right ankle, the right foot, weight of the foot on the ground. Bringing all that together from foot to hip, sensations in awareness, in space. No thought, no need to think. Feel both legs. Bring it all together with the torso, both arms, the neck, back of the head, top of the head, forehead, inside the brain, eyes, nose, ears, mouth, and tongue. Feel the whole body as sensation, not concept. Feel the whole body as sensation in awareness, in space. And again, is awareness separate from sensation? Introduce the thought, I am, into your mind. I am. Bring that thought down through the throat. I am. Say it in the throat, I am. Bring it down to the center of the chest. I am. Relinquish the am. I. And let go of the thought I. And be that awareness. So I'll leave the rest of the sitting to you to explore that. And so we'll sit in silence for the rest of this period.
Brahma Jaloka Dipati Sahapati Patanjaliyan Divarangaya Jata Sandi Dasata Parajaga Jadika Dese Dudama Anukampi Mambaja.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassa. Very nice day today for me. Besides the morning section, which was good fun. And then also I had a nice discussion with Venerable Amasiri on the variations on the use of the word jhana again. And it seems it can be used for attainments which are super mundane, but also it's used in a more ordinary way. So he was saying that the Sanskrit equivalent of dhyana, in his family, if someone was going to go do a couple of hours of meditation, they would say, I'm going to go do dhyana for a couple of hours, right? So it's also used in a kind of more ordinary sense. And I think I'm obviously I was saying that personally I find the word concentration not so helpful in the context of sama samadhi. It's just a word, but words have an effect on us. So I'm kind of encouraging this sense of composure and collectedness, which I think we can all notice. Whereas if you get the super mundane kind of ideas, you don't really know. You're kind of just guessing. You're trying to get there wherever there might be. And then in terms of contemplation, it seems to me that when there is a composure and calmness, then you can certainly investigate all these sort of nuances of awareness, and certainly you can see how desire arises and ceases. So it seems to me to be the platform for insight. And then it doesn't seem to me to be really separate, like vipassana and samatha. I don't see the separation. It just seems to me one is serving the other. If there's composure and calm, I kind of see how it works and how things are. And then the more I see how things are, then there's more calm and composure. Well, some people will say that's just mundane. That's just ordinary. You know, there's this other kind of realization which you get if you have these super mundane states of mind. But I just find that it just feels like a setup to me. It seems to me that I'm just told by someone else who I don't know that I have to get something which I have no idea about. And when I get that something, then I'll get another something. And I don't like that myself, because the Buddhist teaching to me was always like open-handed. It wasn't esoteric. And Ajahn Chah never taught me that way. And the Dhamma is to be realized for yourself and by yourself. So that's what I'm coming from. And that's what works for me. But I really dislike people with authority telling me you have this or you have that, or you don't have this or you don't have that. I mean, only I can know that, it seems to me. And then I really don't feel comfortable with projections onto teachers that they really know and I don't know. I don't like that sense of superiority and inferiority, because that to me seems to be creating a sense of self. Well, you know, I don't know. Whatever you say is fine. I'm just a twit. Twit's an English word. Right? So Whereas Luang Por Cha never, or Luang Por Sumedho, then they never projected that self-authority onto their authority over me. They would always just point back to, well, what do you know? What have you seen? Does it lead? Is it in line with the Four Noble Truths or whatever? So it's never about an authority figure telling me I have to get this other thing and then I'll get to see the more lovely thing. It was never that way. And I could always reflect on it. And that's always been important to me, that the teaching is about reflect. That's so primal for me about the Buddhist teaching, that is about reflection. So again, the question on rebirth, I don't know. I can reflect on aspects of it, but I don't have to believe that to understand the Four Noble Truths. I don't have to disbelieve it. I can know what I know, and then I can reflect, as opposed to being told, thou must believe this. You must believe this. I guess I'm just a kind of farang who's a bit independent. I don't know. So if the teacher creates a kind of authority figure, and I create myself as lesser, isn't that ego? You have all these attainments, you've got all the right answers, and I'm just a whatever. Isn't that like that projection? Who is this person actually? You don't know. It's a projection. It's a concept. Which isn't to say that I was totally in awe of Ajahn Chah. I was totally in awe of him. I mean, it's just this, wow, what a being. But there was never a kind of creation of ego around it. I'm great, you're not. It was like, this is a possibility of the human condition. There was something about that. So he never made me feel inferior to him. If I did feel inferior, he said, well, look at that. That's just a perception. It's a perception that arises in the mind. And teachers have a lot of power, a lot of power. But to me, it always seems the teacher should point back to Dharma rather than self-aggrandizement of some kind of sort. So there we go. That's it. We kind of talked about that, maybe not totally. I didn't finish all these questions. Since I don't know what to talk about, I could start here. So these okay. Luang Por, I have a question on time management. When I scheduled my time, I feel rushed and restless and always watch out for the time. But if I don't schedule my time, I always do things, follow my heart, notice my time is dragged down to 2 to 3 hours more than usual. Meditation time is always a sacrifice if I run out of time. What is your advice on this? How to be productive and yet feel at ease? Well, so a lot of our, if you live urban life, I don't live urban life. I live on kind of rural time, and then rural time monk time, and then the rural time monk time abbot time, which is pretty slow. It's pretty slow, and I don't carry a watch around with me, but I listen for the lunch bell. I'm very good. I'm very disciplined with the lunch bell. I'm very in tune. Okay, so some things you want to get the timing right, especially as a monk, because after lunch ain't nothing. So anyway, that's my basic timing of life. But I do come on time here, right, Joyce? Yeah? I make it here on time, so I'm quite diligent on time. In fact, I'm always early. I'm always early. But one thing about urban life, everyone says they have just too much to do. There's just too many responsibilities and too many complex things to deal with. So part of it is cultural. It's just like endless lists of things to do. So a culture which is consumes a lot of information, has high expectations of productivity. I guess, like, who's this person from where, Malaysia? Like, I know Singapore has high expectations of productivity, I've heard. So you have a lot of cultural, social pressures of what is appropriate and what should be done and how it should be done. So that's quite a burden to be carrying. Then you have your own personal way of functioning. And so let's say someone who suffers from OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. You see, that's an extreme of an organized mind, right? Always having to get the details right or whatever. That's very, very extreme. And maybe that would include time. And then there are variations on that. So sometimes it's just our habit mind functions in a certain way, which is kind of compulsive, not necessarily OCD, but it has a kind of compulsion of whatever it might be. And yeah, like I notice in monasteries, there's always the people that are early, and there's always the people that are late. And I asked one of the monks in Wapapong once, he was from New York City, I said, how do you manage always to be late? And he said to me, well, how do you manage to always be on time? What's a good question, actually? I don't know. And so we have habits, right? And I suppose those habits make us comfortable in some kind of way. We have ideas of efficiency. We have ideas of, using time. So time becomes a commodity that you consume skillfully, I suppose. So it's sort of complicated that way. And then my time is dragged down to 2 or 3 hours. I don't quite know what you mean there. But so meditation time is always a sacrifice if I run out of time. So I guess what could I say to this? I could say, well, when you wake up in the morning, what's your first thought? Is it, what time is it? Does your mind then present the list, the to-do list? Is that the first thing your mind does? And then I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, get yourself organized. Well, if that's your first impulse in the morning, right? Look at that first and don't do anything. Even if it's 5 minutes, right? So you're waking up, because when you wake in the morning, deep sleep is profoundly peaceful. And when you come out of deep sleep, there is a silence and an open-heartedness that's there. So oftentimes we're not receptive to it. And consciousness jumps into the habits which were there the night before, right? So if you were worrying about your kids the night before, then you wake up, there it is, rebirth. Back again. Had a good rest, okay, I'll do that again. And so it would be good to sort of look at that as an object rather than be the subject. Huh? And so how do you do that? Well, you develop a very strong discipline of morning meditation. Very important, very helpful, because morning is, if you can do it, is usually the time you can be away from family, away from the internet and social responsibility, and you have some space. And in that space, you can see what the habit pattern of the mind is doing about today, how it's projecting into the day, what needs to be done in this case, and the timelines of that, and the worry of that, whatever. And you cannot do it. You can sit for half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever you like, have a cup of coffee, get all nice and energized, have a shower, but not do that particular habit. And I see that habit as a formation, as a sankhara, as a changing sankhara in consciousness. So that seems to me that'd be a big step, because now the tendency to believe in that and be that is to some extent countered as with awareness. You see it as awareness. Now, if you sit then for 45 minutes, meditate for 45 minutes, and that programming keeps coming up, it'd be boring watching it, but you say, no, later. I'll do that when I'm having breakfast, later. So it still comes up, but now you have enough presence of mind to know that is a habit with a sense of self created in it. I want to do what I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Which isn't saying you're not going to do that. You're not saying, you're just saying, no, later. So for those 45 minutes now, you've seen that pattern as an object rather than be the subject of that pattern. And obviously then, throughout the day, whatever that pattern is, you're going to have more awareness of it. Because for 45 minutes, you didn't act through it, you knew it as an object, right? Your mind wakes up and the first thing is complaining. Say, oh, my kids, I don't know. My government, I don't know. Those monks, I don't know. Whatever it's producing, right? It's just whining and complaining, right? Now, you could just wake up and believe in that and have your breakfast and then complain about that. And then, of course, what it conditions in the day is that that's who you are as a personality. And you could say, I shouldn't be like that, but it's not that easy. You can say, I don't really like that, or you can believe it, which is all, none of that's very good. Or you could try to be aware of it as an object, as a changing object. So morning meditation gives you that opportunity. And once you have more and more mindfulness around a habit pattern of thought and then doing from those thoughts, you have much more insight about what aspect of that is suffering and what aspect of that is efficient, say, in this case. So some of that might be very efficient, but also some of it might be neurotic. And it's usually a mixture, isn't it? And neurosis is something we all deal with, right? Each of us has our garden variety neurosis. And yet we also have competence. So some of these things are mixed up. And if you don't really get some space around that habit, then you kind of rush to the end of the day, and then the meditation becomes another thing you have to do on your terrible list of things you have to do. And it becomes almost like an imposition. Oh God, I have to meditate now. And I mean, that's not meditation, that's torture. So you have to do the programming maybe first thing, last thing, forget it. Last thing of the day, you basically just want to veg out in front of the television because you're exhausted. I think most people are that way. And justifiably so, you're tired. So to actually introduce meditation as a morning practice and make it like more important than having your breakfast. Make it really important, because that is what nurtures your mind. You can have your oatmeal or dumplings for breakfast or whatever you want, but what's nurturing your heart and what's nurturing your mind? And meditation does that, doesn't it? Right? So and you're not even trying to achieve anything. Like, you're just noticing what is the mind producing, and then you're doing some kind of practice of calming and composure. Very helpful, very skillful. You go into the day then with some sense of self-confidence and self-worth, because if you value this practice, if you see it is really, really valuable, and you don't nurture it, you kind of feel you're not cheating, is like you're not living up to your own aspiration. If you don't live up to your own aspiration, you don't really feel good about it. So without making it some heavy duty, you want to say, no, actually, I want to do this. Some sense of positiveness in it. So make sure you have a really good alarm clock. And some monks have 3 alarm clocks. One goes off and an arm comes out of the sleeping bag and whacks the clock. And then there's one on the other side of the kuti. So that, and that one has to have a terrible sound. This is the strategy of alarm clocks for those who can't wake up. Some people wake up easy. So then the really, really horrible alarm clock you have on the other side of the room. right? So it just bothers you that you have to get out of bed, whatever. So some people can't wake up, so that's a problem. Some people are definitely evening people, and it is easier to meditate in the evening, but quite often this is the problem. This comes, and so, you know, I don't have an answer to that, but it's the compulsion and the sense of self that is driven by habit that you want to let go of. So whatever the, you know, if the compulsion is to be timely, where's the sense of self that's driven by that? What are the thoughts that drive the sense of self? If it then becomes feeling like, oh, I don't have enough time, there'd be a sense of self there. So if you keep focused on the I making, my making, the what we call ahankara, mimamkara, or sakaya ditti, or papancha, or whatever you want, or ego thought, I am and I shouldn't, and all of that. If you learn how to pay attention to that as an object, you will unravel the problem, because the problem isn't so much the manifestation, it's the source, and the source is a sense of self and the desires and conditioning from there. So if you keep an eye on that, I think a very good way to do that is like when you see compulsive thoughts coming around time, then ask the question, is awareness separate from thought? And that'll take you to silence. Very interesting. Of course, you have to remember to do that. And that's the problem. You forget to do that. And at the end of the day, you have it on your fridge. Oh, yeah, I was supposed to do that. And another day goes by. Now, if you introduce it in the morning, then what you've programmed your intentions to notice that more throughout the day, and you will notice it more, and that becomes stronger. So it's a kind of like a muscle and a training and a craft. You have to do it a lot. I don't know if that really answers it, but well, Paul, I'd like to check my understanding of my practice on when you said drop the I, drop the am. It is like there is no self, only awareness or mindfulness. Everything around me becomes still and non-personalized. Even the dogs barked, it doesn't matter anymore. It is what it is, like when there is no self. However, this own experience lasts for a short while. How to sustain this awareness without self? Yeah, that's what I'm pointing to. Good. And it's like, it's something that you notice. And then as you notice it, you notice it. What's an analogy? Like, say in nature, I might notice like I watch the chipmunks a lot. This is monk time. I can just sit by the window and watch chipmunks. It's a luxury of being old, right? So chipmunks are they're kind of crazy to chase each other. But after a while, I might notice, well, actually, I think I see the difference. The chipmunks look very similar because I don't have a chipmunk brain. I'm sure chipmunks look different, but not to me. So then I watch and I know, oh, there's a difference. Oh, there's a difference. And after a while, I begin to see like characteristics in animal world. But that takes a long time. That takes a long time to notice it. But each iteration, each time I notice it, like I was watching last year, like the strategy of the Hell's Angels. What are they? The grackles. I call them Hell's Angels. Grackles are a kind of noisy black bird. And I had a kind of cage around my bird feeder. I was just watching, and they all look the same, but if I watch and I watch and I watch, and I know, so this grackle holds the cage this way to get at the feed this way, and that other grackle holds the cage differently. So by just little iterations of noticing, I notice more and I notice more often. And it's the same with the gap of silence after thought. You kind of notice it, and oh yeah, that's it. And then you start to make the intention just through curiosity, I'd say, and also because it feels good, it feels right, it feels appropriate, it gives you confidence. You start to use the question like that. Now, if you try to produce this, then you're in desire. And that's the problem. So you just have to let go. And that's the learning of how to actually watch. How do you actually watch a bird? You just watch it, and then you learn. And so that watching part gets corrupted by actually a good experience. This is the difficulty. You have a kind of interesting insight, which seems, yeah, that seems right. And this sounds, it is right. And then you have the difficulty of wanting to repeat that. And then desire comes in. It's such a common pattern. I've talked about it a lot here. So you want to come back to the purity of intention and Luang Por Sumedho's suggestion. It's like this. And then like non-becoming, not looking for anything, not resisting anything, coming back to that purity of presence. That's the main, I would say, method. Because if you just wait there, and then you'll notice sense of I coming and going, and then that opening becomes more apparent. So non-desire, non-becoming, not looking for that experience, because that very looking is a preoccupation with thought and self and time, which prevents that. Yeah, this is a kind of irony of insight. The irony of insight. I could write a book. The irony of insight is that it is correct. It is, and it is gratifying, and it gives you confidence, and then that stimulates more greed. Isn't that a bummer? I think we've all seen that. So then you come back to like your fundamental understanding of what you're doing, and what you're doing is you're letting go of desire. It's like this. It's you're trusting in awareness. And you get better and better at that. In the beginning, wow, well, that was great. I'm going to get that again. And it doesn't work, and you struggle and you fumble. And then at some point, you just give up. I don't care. Well, and it's there again. And then, oh, I want to give it again. And then you trouble and trouble and try. And then, oh, it's just like this. And then, oh, mind silent again. So letting go is a kind of funny old thing. It sometimes comes from beating your head on the wall, and then you stop. And then, oh, I don't have to do that. You stop. So stopping, non-becoming, non-resistance, this is the language I use around that. But I think what you say here is very profound. And that's what I was hoping this would do. What can I say about that? However, this experience only lasts for a short while. Also, it's interesting, yeah, the kind of the sense of time in when thought comes up, there is a sense that I have been thinking, therefore I must stop thinking, and you enter into the sense of self and time, and actually the present here now, time is just created, psychological time is just created through thought. So if you create the sense of me having to get that experience again, that very sense of me going somewhere in time is an error. So you want to come back to the timelessness. This moment is like this. And that's the idea of non-becoming. There is chronological time, but psychological time is created through thought. And that happens very much when you notice you've been thinking. I've been thinking too much. I have to stop thinking. And then you become the person who's trying to get to the place of not thinking. And that time is self, it creates self. So akalika Dhamma, when we say akalika Dhamma, not a matter of time, is no, it's like this. Thoughts like this. And the sense of self doesn't get created or reborn in time. Coming from the corporate world and now taking care of my elderly family at home, I have a hard time trying to do present moment awareness, and always find myself rushing and multitasking. Any tips? Again, it is a situational thing, and you know, there is too much to do, and sometimes you just have to survive that. You just have to make it through the day, because life is tough. And if you got a job and you're caring for someone, and maybe you have a larger family and so on, it's really tough to do. But so I would say can you do things quickly without trying to get them finished? There's a difference, isn't there? If I'm a jogger, I'm not a jogger, but if I were a jogger and I wanted to run to the stop sign down the road and back, I would be doing it quickly, but I would be doing it with a sense of presence. If I had an appointment at the stop sign and I was a bit late, I would have to jog to get to the stop sign. But my mind would be different because I would be trying to get to the stop sign. The jogger and myself might get there at the same time. I would be stressed, the jogger would just run back. So can we do a lot of things without this rushing to get it finished to get the next one? That's the only thing I could think of in this situation, because it is true that sometimes you just have to do a lot of things at once. And that's just, especially like if you have a lot of people around you, you're caring for, you have to process a lot of information. But having said that, make that intention, okay, I have to do this fast, but can I do it for the sake of doing it fast? And I know I have to get it done, but can I do it mindfully and quickly? I don't know, but that seems to me one way to approach this. The other is to make sure that there is some downtime, because our nervous systems are not made for rushing around constant 24/7. So to somehow carve in downtime and to make that very, very important. Again, sometimes it's not possible, but if there is any space to kind of carve it out, make it sacred, where you're doing nothing, and the habit of doing a lot becomes a habit of doing a lot. So sometimes rushing and doing a lot, there are spaces, but it just gets, oh, I should finish this and I should finish that. Then we don't know, we've forgotten how to stop. So just like saying half an hour, just sitting in a chair and looking outside or at a wall or whatever you want, but just stopping, that would be very important. But sometimes there is no answer, and you just have to bite the bullet and do it because it's the right thing to do. So try to remember that although it's stressful, you're caring for a loved one and you're doing something which is very noble. So try to bring up the nobility of your effort. And rather than, I can't practice present moment awareness. Okay, I feel scattered. My mind's a complete mess, but I'm doing it from a loving intention. So somehow you bring up the goodness of your activity rather than this activity is a drag. I can't do meditation. No, okay, I have to work hard, but it's for a good cause. It's for a good reason. It's for the love of my parents. But it's tough. It's tough. Well, Paul, if a sad memory keeps coming back during meditation and tears fall, I'm fully aware of my sad feeling and allow it to manifest as sadness. I know the feeling is unpleasant, and it is like a knife that stabs into the heart, which hurts. How should I contemplate it further? Please advise. Well, if you cannot go to the narrative, to the story, then you can see the pure emotion. And I mean that's impossible to do 100% because that narrative does condition the feeling. But first of all, you identify it as a memory, which is important. That's a big thing. And then as the narrative starts to spin out, you try to say, okay, what does this feel like before I think? Or you start to analyze, how can I get away? How can I make this end more quickly or whatever? What does this feel like before I think? What is this before I analyze it, before I think about the memory? So you're getting to the purity of the experience. And then the language, this will change. This will change. And so the hurt feeling, the thing about those feelings, they feel permanent. Even though you have a doctrinal idea, this will change, and you have an experiential recognition that this will change. You know it's not permanent, yet the feeling is like it's always going to be this way. So if you put in, this will change, as a kind of reassurance, this will change. And then I think if you go to the hurtful feeling and you don't go to the narrative and you allow the hurtful feeling to be there, it seems to me that does take you to deep compassion, because a hurt heart is something about love. It's something about metta karuna, isn't it? Right? You've been injured, so you're actually feeling some part, I think, of the Brahma Viharas, and it's hurtful. But I think if you bear with it, then the bearing with it, one of the ways of using language is that all beings who have experienced this kind of hurt feel like this. So you expand it to a sense of, yeah, samsara is like this, and it hurts, and other beings have this too. So you're kind of not so alone with it. So this kind of language to negotiate the endurance of this. If you just say, I have to endure this, usually you're wanting to reject it. But if you can allow it to come up into full consciousness and feel it, and then not just reiterate it with thought, then it has a chance of, its energy or its karma, to vipaka karma, has a chance of dissipating and going away from consciousness. Now, having said that, as I said earlier, if you have PTSD, right? If you've had like abusive parents, as I was saying in the earlier talk, if someone's been abused, sexually abused, or just violence in the family, or again, a war situation, bomb blowing up or whatever, then that kind of sad memory is much more profoundly difficult to negotiate. And then the manifestations from there are very hard to understand. And usually just this mindfulness practice isn't sufficient. Then one needs to kind of go to someone who has expert knowledge on how to be with that, and yet not, what they say is, re-traumatize the mind. We were talking about this the other day, and I was just inquiring, how do people work with this? And the therapist I spoke to, she said that in the past, she does a kind of somatic therapy, and in the past they tried to make the whole experience conscious, to release it from the mind, but they found that could re-traumatize the person. So then her approach was to just touch it and then move away from it, but feel the body and what the body does there. Now, this is just very vague on my part. I'm not an expert, but there are degrees of karmic hurt that are profoundly difficult to deal with. Unfortunately, modern psychology has very good tools, and they are tools of mindfulness that go there. But like for myself, I've never had that horrible experience. So I've always found, if I can be fully with the feeling of hurt, whatever way it has been, and I can just be very patient with it, then my heart tends to open even more. And because I've been able to witness the pain of the heart and bear with it and stay with the heart. So thinking then is what kind of exacerbates it. So thinking about a hurt is not the same as feeling hurt, is it? It's a different kind of, it's an abstraction away. And when I think about, it was so terrible, it's not really the felt feeling. The felt feeling is not a thought. Just as you can take the same example of this body meditation, the sensation of your right shoulder as a concept. You say right shoulder, what is it? It says it's an idea. But then what your right shoulder actually is as a sensation, it's that. And that's what you're trying to come to in the feelings of hurt, I would say, in the heart, and trust and awareness, trust that this will change, and bring up that language. Yeah, anyone who's been hurt in this way suffers in this way. May all beings be free from suffering. So then you're introducing the ideas of metta bhavana around the feeling in your heart, and you're kind of sensing that we're all in this. We're all hurt, and then it kind of goes beyond my own personal story to just the universality of suffering. But that doesn't mean it brings you down into abject depression, because you're staying at the heart. You're not going to thought, and then that to me seems to open to compassion. Should we chant the Metta Sutta? Please join. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.
Andamayam ovadakatha sadhu karang kadama se sadhu 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 modami.
All right. See you tomorrow. Ciao. Be well. Bye-bye.